if we have an issue with our mother-in-law, is it fair for us to say to our husband, you need to tell your mom to stop showing up without asking?
Oh, yeah. Like, whose responsibility is it to set the boundary?
Yeah. Is it unfair to ask them to do this with their own parent?
It's not unfair. It's perfectly reasonable. And I would recommend that sons need to be communicating those boundaries as a we to their mother, to their parents.
Welcome, new people. You should know that we are never prepared. We are always wearing sweats. We're never wearing makeup.
I would almost consider myself the MC of this podcast. I am the narrator.
So welcome. We hope you enjoy this.
All right. So today's episode is very helpful. We had such a great conversation. It is helpful if you're single. It is helpful if you're in a relationship. It's helpful if you're married. It is helpful if you are a parent. Okay. We are talking to Dr. Tracy Dalgleish. She is a clinical psychologist. She is a couples therapist, and she has a new book coming out this fall called You, Your Husband, and His Mother. So basically, we are talking about parenting styles. We are talking about mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationships and why they can be so tricky and so challenging, what healthy boundaries are like between kids and parents, what they should look like. It's really a different kind of conversation, and it's really interesting. We've never gone deep into the mother-in-law conversation, but it's such a tricky relationship for so many people. So we thought that we should really dive in because it's so fun to talk about. I'm very lucky I have an amazing mother-in-law. Let me go on record saying that. Hi, Marina.
This is going to be a spicy one, and it's going to be a spicy one for so many reasons.
The mother-in-law episode is just so good.
I know, but Erin, it's not just like for me, I'm more one, I'm coming into this from sort of through a different lens,
Can you not make this about yourself so fast?
No.
Let's just say hi to Dr. Tracy first, okay?
Okay.
We're calling you Dr. Tracy, right?
That's okay. Absolutely.
Okay. But now your last name is Dalgleish. Did I say that right?
Dalgleish. There's a tricky L in there that always gets mispronounced.
Wait, say it again.
Dalgleish.
Erin, you always do these awkward beginnings. We're going to give you a gorgeous intro. We're going to intro you to our audience. We're going to say so many nice things about you that you will not be here for. So
I refused to change my last name when I got married just for this conversation starter.
Yeah, by the way, it's a good conversation starter. Okay, so that's not your married name. That's your maiden name.
That's correct. Yeah.
Good for you, feminist among us. I changed my name the second I met my husband. Anyway, okay. So talk to us. Give our audience a little background on you. And I know it's a lot to explain, but kind of how you got to the point where you wanted to focus and write a book about the mother-in-law relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. To start, I'm a psychologist and couples therapist, and I have always just been so curious about the dynamics between two people, how a raised eyebrow could trigger an entire disagreement where we bring in our old stories and our histories and our traumas. And I think it's just so interesting to watch couples. And so after researching emotionally focused couples therapy in my PhD, being in my own relationship, having my own mental health clinic, this common struggle just kept showing up. And it was the dynamic between the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law, and how it wasn't so much as an issue between the two of them, but it was really this couple's issue that was showing up. So it just became thousands of people in my community talk to me every day about this struggle. They don't know what to do. They're struggling in their relationship. It's one of the top reasons that couples end up divorcing and separating. And it's just so timely because I think what we know about ourselves today as women is we are doing something quite different than what women were doing in previous generations. So that's kind of how I got here. I'm also a mom to 2 kids.
Did you have a mother-in-law when you're writing this that you were, using as inspiration?
Yes, I have a mother-in-law. And, and like others, we had to navigate our expectations. I can remember early postpartum, lots of well-intentioned comments about our baby, about the choices we were making were coming out. And early on, I had to say, I know you are so excited to be grandma and grandpa, and we don't need advice. We just don't need advice. You can just tell us instead that we're doing a good job. And from that moment on, we've never had comments about how we're parenting.
Oh my God. But this is so ingrained in us, I think, as when I look back to, I'm not kidding you guys, as young as 13, I remember that boys that I liked, I was always like, I have to win over the mom. And I mean, I'm not kidding you. I remember being in freaking middle school and going out of my way to try to impress the mom. And maybe that's just a me thing, or maybe this is because I
think that's a well-established intention that people
didn't give a shit about the dad. The dad was irrelevant to me. I was like,
the sister-in-law is also very important.
Yeah, of course. But
I went on a handful of dates with a guy a decade ago, and he was an orphan. And I thought, this could be really good for me. I really like the idea of an orphan. Just someone he can just completely be a part of my family, and I don't have to do the merging thing. And unfortunately, he wasn't my soulmate. But my soulmate really is close to his parents. And they're actually wonderful.
Yeah. So what is it? I mean, I guess... I know that you have like real science, real data around this, but what is at the root? What is the root cause of this inflamed dynamic?
Yeah, I break it down into 3 different pieces that contribute to this. And the first one being the tension that exists between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. And that tension comes because we as women are doing things differently today than what they were doing. I have boomers tell me that they would drive 8 hours in the middle of a snowstorm because their parents told them that it's the holidays and you have to be there. And here we are as a generation of women where we're saying, we don't want to people please. We don't want to self-sacrifice, self-abandon. And on top of it, we're bringing in our husbands and saying, we're going to divide the mental load. We're doing this differently. We're parenting differently. And so then here's a mother and she's wondering, did I do it wrong? How do we do this together? Or is this a rejection of me? So that's kind of the first piece of this. But the second piece is then the insecurity. If a mother defines her identity through her role as just a mother, if she feels insecure about who she is in the family and her place, when this major change takes place, she's going to struggle. And she doesn't feel important. She doesn't know how to ask for her needs. And there's all kinds of individual pieces in there. We can talk about the toxic dynamics that show up for people. But then the last piece that really just tips this issue is the communication problems that show up for couples. And this is really at the core of what I want people to learn is how do we protect our relationship? How do we become this we? So it's not a you versus me, but it's a we, and how we communicate that to your mother so we can be on the same page.
That is so interesting. Yeah. Sorry, reaction to that is just how that generation of women were told this is how you do things. So they obeyed their parents. And then now their children and their children's spouse doesn't feel the need to obey them. And I could totally see how that would insinuate they did it wrong and kind of piss somebody off. Be like, well, what the fuck? I obeyed my parents. Was I not supposed to be? Or B, be like, you're supposed to obey me and do what I want. Why aren't you doing it? It's very interesting.
That's one of the elements of toxic family structures where there's this control and rigidity. And it's almost a hierarchy, a top down, where you must fall in line. And we always do this holiday in this way. We always celebrate the birthday like this. And what mom or dad, but mom typically, what she wants, that's how we all look up to that. And that's just not how it works for us anymore.
But I would imagine, like, I have a 14-year-old and 9-year-old. I have daughters. And I've been thinking a lot lately, like it's crazy that my oldest daughter will be out of the house in 4 years. Like when I think about that, and then I go like, okay, well, once both of my girls are out of the house, my life is obviously going to then revolve around their lives, obviously. So it's like, I think about.
You're like, I'll just be hanging out of their apartment on the weekends. I'll just be with her and their boyfriend on vacation.
Right. And I'll just be like, they're obviously they're going to still come home and sleep at my house and bring their friends. And when I think about who they're going to be with, man, woman, whatever it is, whoever it is, I'm like, I better like them. And I'm not about just like,
imagine if V was like, I'm not going to come over for Christmas this year because I'm going to be with Billy's family in Miami.
Yeah, I'm not okay with that. Like, I'm just being really, like, when I think about me and the lens that I'm going to look through as a mother-in-law, I'm like this whole, like, I just want them to be happy and in love. No, I want them to be with great people. I mean, I'm going to be the mother-in-law from hell. So I just want to start this out by being this is an open and honest conversation.
You represent the mother-in-law we're all trying to fix, basically.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, if one of my girls brought home some person that I was like, no, you're better than this person. This person, I don't like how they talk to you. I don't like their vibe. They don't seem motivated. They're on their phone all the time. Like, I think I'm 100% going to try to sabotage that relationship. So I just want to start this out fully transparent that I might be a full Karen mother-in-law that we're about to dissect.
I appreciate that transparency because I think what you're talking about too, and of course, when you have a 14-year-old, it's hard to imagine what's 6 years, right? Because it's moment to moment. That separation has been so slow over time, right? When they're 8 months old and they push you away and they want to be put down on the floor. That first time you're like, oh, how could you push me away? Or when they learn the word no and how could you say no to me? We're supposed to snuggle at bedtime every night. It's these small moments of separation. And what creates a healthy relationship is that individuation and differentiation. The understanding that I can have my own thoughts and feelings about you, about who you're dating and who you're with and the choices you're making. But I also know that you're going to have your own and you will choose that. And that's where the mother and son dynamic really struggle, is that
was my next question. Why is this happening with sons and mothers more than it is with daughters and mothers or daughters and fathers? And I'll follow that with just a little anecdote, which is that my husband and I were in Italy 5 years ago, and we sat next to this couple in their, 60s. Oh, what are you guys doing here? And the mom said, oh, we're here for our son's wedding. Oh, that's so exciting. And she's like, I have two sons, and I've learned that everything is about the daughter. Everything is about the daughter-in-law. So she wants us to stay in this hotel, and she wants us to come when she wants us to be there. And she wants to live close to her family. So that's where our sons live, is close to their wives' families. Like, it's all about the daughter. The daughter wins. The wife always wins. And so we aren't with our son right now because they're with her family. And it stuck with me, this idea that, like, if you have sons, that happy wife, happy life, right? Like the wife always wins the argument. I don't know, the wife always wins the, like, where do we live or where do we go for Christmas? I don't know if that's what it is because we have a little baby. We haven't really gotten there yet, but, like, that is scary to have sons and feel like you sort of don't have any power in the situation.
It's interesting. I don't believe in that expression, happy wife, happy life, but more so, how do we co-create? How do we make this work for both of us? Because if I'm always giving up my needs as a man, then I'm going to resent you over time. And that shows up not just in sex, but it also shows up in our emotional connection. I'm not going to want to share things with you. I will grow resentful and create distance over time. I will go golf for 8 hours every Saturday and Sunday, right? So what's special about the mother and son? It is interesting. I will speak also too as knowing, and some people, when they think that I'm talking about cutting ties with a family, which is not what this conversation is about, people will say, just wait, you will be a mother-in-law one day. And they are absolutely right. I have a son, and I already say things to him today like, your job is not to make me happy. It's okay that you want to do something different. Oh, okay. So we want to go mini golfing. We went mini golfing recently. You want to go mini golfing, but now a friend wants to hang out with you. Well, we're going to hold that choice, that commitment together, and maybe we'll just cut it a bit shorter and you can go hang out with your friend. There's no guilt tripping. There's no making him responsible for my feelings. And the other thing is I'm going to show him what healthy love is, because I am his first representation of what it means to love a woman. So right now he's 10, and then 10 is so special because it's this mix of, like, go away, I want to be on my own, and then this, like, come close and let's still cuddle. And so he'll come to me and cuddle and we'll be close. And that's love, and appreciating that the next moment he might not want that. And I don't say things like, well, that hurts my feelings.
Wow, it's so unbelievable that you're saying this. You know that my whole thing with my girls recently has been, you are not responsible for mom or dad's feelings. Yeah. Like when I watch them worrying about us, like feeling like worried about their dad or worried about me, it stresses me out. So now I'm probably overcompensating. I'm saying now, like, constantly, You are not responsible for your grown-ups' feelings. We're your grown-ups. We're the parents. We know what we're doing. I never want you to spend 1 second of your life worrying about us. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, is that the right message to be sending them? Because I've been sending it a lot, because it is, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, because the emotional responsibility flows upwards in the sense that it's not your child to be responsible for parents. And then even for, and I see this in my therapy practice, that I'll have a 22-year-old come to talk to me and say, my mom's talking to me about her body image issues. My mom's talking to me about losing weight. My mom's talking to me about getting into a fight with my dad. And I'm having this conversation of, this is not for you to be navigating. And your mom then, or whoever the parent is, needs to go speak to a friend, a peer, a sibling, someone in their generation, or a therapist. It's one different, there's so many nuances within that. But with the mother-son specifically, because of the generational changes that we're seeing, because of words like emotionally immature adult, emotionally immature parents, like we're really starting to understand this. We do see a lot of mothers have a hard time separating from their sons specifically.
It's so interesting.
I wonder what I'd be like as a boy mom. I think I'd be like a wild boy mom.
It's really so full circle talking to you guys about FP movement. I mean, number one, because Erin used to work at Free People. She worked at Free People. She was so excited to get this job. By the way, she was like 28, so this was not like that long ago. And I used to go in there and I always found myself gravitating to the workout clothes. This was before FP Movement was like a big thing. FP Movement it's Free People's activewear brand. It is designed for all the ways that you move, meaning, hiking, flowing, training, or getting, a matcha with your friend with no intention of working out. I don't know what it is, but they have the fabric that they use for the leggings, the sports bras. They suck you in the most unbelievable way, but they're not tight. It's weird. It's like it sucks you in, so they look very tight, but they don't feel tight. So I will put my FP Movement stuff on sometimes, and I'm just like, I have no plans of working out. I'm just going to the office. Another thing I love is the colors. They have great colors. They have a Razorback sports bra thing that is so cute with jeans. I wear it, I think, more with jeans than I wear it to the gym. They have breathable sets, supportive bras, cozy outwear, colorful accessories. Every piece is made to support movement and self-expression. We love, love, love this stuff. So visit fpmovement.com to shop online or visit one of the stores across the country to shop in person. That's fpmovement.com.
So AG1 is a daily health drink, okay? It supports your energy, it improves your digestion, your gut health, it fills all the nutritional gaps in your diet, supports immune health. AG1 Next Gen is backed by 4 clinical trials, clinically shown to fill common nutrient gaps and support gut health. But here's the most exciting thing is that AG1 now has different flavors, okay? For the first time ever, now you have the original, which is like the subtle sweet flavor of pineapple and vanilla. But now there is AG1 Next Gen, okay? So they've got citrus, tropical, and berry. The citrus one is got like more of like a tangy flavor. It's got like a lemon and orange. Tropical is sort of like papaya and passion fruit. And then berry is blueberry and strawberry. And so this is the first time that AG1 has started to do flavors, and I've tried them. They're all delicious. AG1 has superfoods, it has pre and probiotics, there's so many vitamins, there's so many minerals, it's packed full of everything. It's really for the person who does not want to have to take a million vitamins every single day, but wants to be healthy, wants to, stop getting sick all the time. The flavors in AG1, by the way, it's very important to say they're derived from plant-based sources. There's no added sugar, there's no artificial sweeteners. They are all very clean. This company has always been very careful with what they put in their product. They test for several different contaminants, so you know that what you're getting is always clean and responsible. AG1 has been a partner for a really long time, and we love them. So if you head to drinkag1.com/Foster, you are going to get a free welcome kit worth $76 when you subscribe, including 5 AG1 travel packs, a shaker, a canister, and a scoop. Okay?
That's drinkag1.com/foster to get started.
I think that we all need to be prioritizing our rest and our sleep a little bit more. All the things that I've been hearing and learning about are how important sleep is to our longevity, to how we feel, to how we look, to our health, to all those things. Sleep, sleep, sleep. And if you are not sleeping in a comfortable bed, if you are not sleeping with comfortable sheets, you're just not going to sleep as good. Not only that, but Boll & Branch sheets are made completely free from toxins. It is the finest 100% organic cotton. These sheets are buttery soft, and they honestly get even softer and softer and softer after every wash. It comes with a 30-night worry-free guarantee, which means you can return them. If you don't like them, you can return them. And I think that they implemented that because they know most people are not returning them because they're that good. These are ethically crafted by expert artisans, earning fair wages, which, let's be real, that is important. These sheets, they are cool, they are crisp, they are breathable. They really mold to whatever it is. If I'm hot at night, I feel cooler. If I'm cold, I feel cozy. I just love these sheets. They're on every single bed in my house. We're all trying to make cleaner adjustments. We're all trying to take one step closer to living a cleaner lifestyle, and bedding is a great start. So feel the difference an extraordinary night's sleep can make with Boll & Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com/foster15. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com/foster15 to save 15% off. Exclusions apply.
I had a lot of judgment around this until, when I became a mom just over a year ago, I started going like, oh shit, I kind of feel like I may have been a little harsh on the judgment, because once you become a parent, it's like an insatiable amount of love that I have for this person. She's a girl, so I don't know what the boy would be like, but like I already have those feelings of like, I need you to need me, and I need you to want to be with me all the time. And of course, she's a baby, and hopefully it gets better, but I understand the concept differently today than I did a year and a half ago, when I heard stories about mothers putting pressure on their children to stay close, which always really kind of triggered me. Sarah and I have a mom that does not put pressure on us and does not guilt us and is not needy. So we have a mom who's like, when I was 15, I wanted to go to boarding school in Switzerland. She was like, it was never about that's going to be hard for me. It was always, this is a great opportunity for you. It doesn't matter if it's hard for me. I'm proud to have a child who has the independence, who wants to live across the world. I like that I have a daughter like that. Like, she always instilled this independence in us that I really, really appreciate as an adult, because she never makes us take on like, you know, what she has going on in her life and have that stop us from what we have going on in our life. But I married into a family that's really different, where they're like, my husband's parents are still together. They're immigrants. It's a very different kind of culture. And it was a huge adjustment. Like, you know, my husband's mom, she thought that we should be talking on the phone every single day. But like, I don't talk to my own mom every single day. And there were expectations. I got married at 37. I was like, I'm an old ass bride. Like, I'm already kind of locked into a system. And it was, you know, having different childhoods really changed how we came about the dynamic. And it took many years for us to land in a good place. Like, when, you know, Sarah and I had a lot of step parents growing up, both sides, and it was not fun. And so when I was getting married or even engaged, my husband's like, he said this thing, he said, my parents are now your parents. And I was like, what? I don't need new parents. I'm like almost 40 years old. I've had so many fucking parents in my life. I do not need more parents. I was so triggered by it.
You're like, I shouldn't even be wearing white to our wedding.
Literally. But he was like, wait, I thought I was saying something nice. And I'm like, no, you're saying something that's like suffocating to me. Like, it's like you're forcing people. Now I have like more parents to be responsible to or something. Anyway, the point is that we came at it from such different places, and it took a long time for us to like get past those just misunderstandings of expectation.
Expectations is such a huge piece of this conversation for all three parties. It's why my upcoming book is you, your husband, and his mother. You all bring in expectations, right? You all have this element of, what does it mean to hopefully have this other mother figure? Is it someone that I want to be able to call once a week and talk about why I can't get this stain out, or, what I should do about this decision in life. And do you want that? Or is it someone who is maybe a little bit more distant from you? And of course, they're still important in your family. And then, of course, your mother-in-law brings in their own expectations and desires. What does it look like? I think of, and the piece here with this conversation is we see this cross-culturally. This isn't a North American conversation. This book is being picked up in so many other countries because this is, I think of the Italian couples that I work with, where it is this loss almost of when a mother's son gets married. I've heard this story. She wants to wear black to the wedding because she's not celebrating. She's grieving losing her son.
Oh my God. Well, and if you're coming at it with that kind of energy, can you talk about what the healthy dynamics are in a mother-in-law daughter relationship and what are the toxic ones? Because I think some probably are human nature and understandable. And obviously a mother's going to be attached to her son, right? Obviously it's going to be hard if one day this person relies on you as the voice of reason in his life and then the next day he's going to somebody else. So
yeah,
what's healthy and what's toxic?
Yeah. So something that would be healthy is using more big words like respect. Let's even just talk about respect and mutuality, in the sense that I know you're an adult and you have your own separate desires and wishes for how you wish to do things now. I'm going to, as a healthy mother-in-law, see you as building your own family, and that it's not for me to just show up on your front door and arrive whenever I want. It's more about this, hey, I was thinking about this. Can we get together? And not putting those feelings onto your children, right? Onto your son and daughter-in-law. What else makes it healthy? It's about how we converse with each other. One of the unhealthy things, if we kind of contrast it, is when a mother-in-law talks negatively about other family members and or complains about her marriage. And we see in the research that we don't need research to support this, but really the relationship is rated less favorably when mothers-in-law complain to their daughters-in-law. And it breaks security and trust and connection.
So even if you're connecting with your daughter-in-law and complaining about her husband, that's not positive.
That's not. No. And again, it's what do we want to do downwards to the younger generation? We don't need to be letting our children know that we're having marital problems, that we're thinking about separating, or I can't believe your father is doing all of these things again, because that creates this pattern of triangulation, of stepping into victimhood and expecting the child to rescue and be part of that. So then when we start thinking of things that are not so healthy, we start thinking about what I had said earlier, rigidity and control, guilt trips and manipulation. So things like, you're just so busy, I guess I won't be able to come over and see the kids again. We also see excluding daughters-in-law. This is a common one. So it's like the threat of the outsider, that here's this person coming in and it's almost like that outsider is causing the problems, or they don't want to take in their opinions or see things from a different way. So that would be another unhealthy piece. What would it be another one? Personalization, taking everything really personal to heart and making it about you. And then also expecting your son to continue to be in this codependent enmeshed pattern where you as a mother-in-law feel that your son should be responsible for your feelings and your expectations and to always prioritize you.
Right. Of course. And so it's interesting you say it continues into adulthood, like still in adulthood with an adult child, you shouldn't be talking to them about your relationship.
I would recommend no.
Yeah, I agree with this. I work and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I sort of, and I don't know if it's because, and we grew up with an amazing mom, obviously, but we were hyper aware of the toxic dynamics happening within our family. Like we were aware, like there was a lot of pain and a lot of, much better than a lot of people's childhoods. We had a great childhood in a lot of ways, but I, as the oldest, was very aware. So in my household, my kids, I don't want to say they've never seen me cry. They see that I have an emotional range. They see that I'm empathetic and that things touch me, and I'll cry if something is, a sad commercial. They don't think I'm a robot, but they do not have any idea of what I'm like kind of going through on a day-to-day basis. I really try to sort of have this, mom's good. You don't need to worry about your mom, because I worried about my mom. And I don't want them to worry about me, even though like a lot of things are changing in our family right now. And I'm like, guys, I am good. I'm good. Work is good. I have great friends. I'm happy. I wake up every day. I'm grateful. They sort of see me. They don't see the dark shit. They just don't. I really, really mask it. And
we were talking about adult relationships, though. Like when you're an adult, your parents still shouldn't talk about the relationship to you, which I found was interesting.
Problem, what happens around that, though, is if mom goes to son and say, oh, your father, et cetera, then the son has to bear that responsibility. That then impacts son and father relationship. And that's the piece we don't want to get involved with. We don't want to. And as a result, too, what will happen is son will then step away further from mom. So all relationships become severed.
Well, it's like as a child, regardless of how old you are, and maybe this is just carried over from our childhood through divorce, but like I always felt as a kid, if my dad had a complaint about my mom, I always felt sort of like, oh, sorry, you have to like spend time with her because of me, And if my mom had a complaint with my dad, like, oh, sorry, that's the person you had kids with.
Oh, I didn't feel that at all.
It's a little bit my fault. You guys know each other. It's a little bit my fault. You have to be dealing with each other. And as an adult, I feel the same way. It's like, I almost feel this like, oh God, I have to be defensive of one parent to the other, or I have to sort of apologize on their behalf, or be like, oh God, sorry, they're that way. I've been really trying to like work on that with them, but they're just like not getting it. And it is true that regardless of what age you are, you always feel a version of that responsibility, because you are half your mom, half your dad. So when one person is talking about the other one to you, you feel a little bit like stuck in the middle.
Yeah. And that also too is what ends up happening with the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, in the sense that if the daughter-in-law is struggling in some way, and then her husband doesn't set healthy boundaries and talk to his mom, then she's put in the middle. Or if mom's coming in and wanting things a certain way, again, we get stuck in a tricky triangle. And it's really then the communication between partners.
I hear a lot of people talk about how when you get married, this is your new family unit, right? Like you have to prioritize husband and wife and then the children that you have, that's your new family nucleus. Our couples therapist has said that to us before. And I'm sure that's got to be hard for parents. I am very fortunate that my husband's mom, she really lives by that. And she always is like, check in with your wife. See what Erin thinks, right? Like, how does Erin feel about it? See if Erin wants to do that. They really come from this family mentality of like a couple being partners, and everything gets discussed and approved together. And so I, in a lot of ways, have almost learned that concept from them. And I'm very lucky that my mother-in-law is wonderful and doesn't, insert herself in that. She really is like, you guys should decide as a couple. But, there's something sad about it too. It's like your parents are now like sort of floating aimlessly, not a part of the core family anymore. And if those people, we should talk about this, aren't together anymore, having a single parent, a single mom, it's hard, right? Like they're alone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they're alone, and they're also an adult with a sense of agency, that they can make choices to build their friend group and their community. And we don't lose compassion for them, right? And I think that's the piece that's important to recognize. As a couple, yes, you are now prioritizing your chosen family. You don't lose your connection to your extended family. And you ask each other as partners, what do we want to keep from our families and integrate into what we do now? So for example, maybe you did Sunday night dinners, everyone all together. Maybe that's something that you do, and you incorporate mom, whether she's single or not, and she comes over for that family dinner. The piece though is that it comes from a place of what matters to you, what your values are. And not
what
from
you
a
should
place,
do.
Yes, not from a place of mother-in-law saying to son, well, we always do Sunday night dinner, so you have to be here. And we do have espressos at 9 p.m. And even though you have a 5-month-old, you need to stay here for espressos because you can't leave beforehand. That's quite different than this idea of bringing together and creating new traditions and rituals.
Do you feel like a lot of women, you know, you always hear that, like, I just want to find a nice Jewish boy who loves his mom. You know, we hear that. Like that's something that's sort of like a universal theme that you hear. Like we say like, oh, we just want a boy that loves his mom. And then you get it and you're kind of like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know? So like, what is that in us as women that's what we're seeking? That's what we think we want. And nobody wants a guy that hates their mom, because that's like a whole other level of toxicity. And like,
it's a good question though, because the person who's going to be a good partner is also a good son.
Yes.
But then you're like, okay, well now just do it for me.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so can son be individuated, right? We're not attached. We're not adjoined by our arms or by our shoulders. We're separate. So can the son say, Mom, I love you so much. We miss you. I know we haven't been to, I'm going to stick with these Sunday night dinners. We haven't been to Sunday night dinner for a few weeks, but we're coming back to it, right? Can a son do that? It's love and respect. It's not love and enmeshment. And that's around creating healthy boundaries and staying close. We do want a man who respects his mother. That's someone who respects a woman. Yes. How can someone love deeply and love us and show that to us? But are they able to create that sense of separation, that their job, their role is not to please mom, to never upset mom, and to not fall into any guilt trips that might show up?
What do you think is fair as a woman to ask of your husband in regards to this dynamic? What's fair? And by the way, this is just my question.
Wow. I was literally looking at the sheet. I was like, oh, good question. Who sent that in?
Yeah, it was you. What is, yeah.
I think this really depends. And this comes right back to our expectations and desires in a family. Some people want more closeness. Some people want more time together and others don't. What would be fair? Let's put some ground rules on that. That a mother never speaks disrespectfully about her son's partner. That is a recipe for creating separation and divide. That's not going to feel good. When you say so if I have feelings about my one day son's partner and I say to him, oh, I don't know, like, I don't really like when they do this, that puts him in the middle. We don't want to put them in the middle.
So triangulating pretty much is just across the board bad.
Don't do triangulating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, because as a parent, it's your job to keep that shit to yourself. Unless that person's toxic or abusive, like, you're the grown up. You're the adult. Like, even though, yes, there are adult
And by
children,
the way, if you say it the right way, they'll feel it anyway. You'll go, I like her. And they'll be able to read between the lines.
Okay, got it. That's one. What's another?
We need to treat our home as our own. So that this is our safe place, that just because your mom wants to come over when the baby is born, that doesn't mean that she gets to. It has to be something that we're deciding together.
Whoa. Okay, so that's fair. So it's fair for a daughter-in-law to say, and we've had this question before, I don't want you in the delivery room, which, by the way, that's insane.
Oh, the delivery room is a big one.
Literally insane. You have agency over your delivery room. You get to decide who is in that room. That's like, we shouldn't even have yeah, that should be obvious. So you're saying it is completely fair and within the parameters of what is okay as a daughter-in-law to say, your mom is not allowed to just show up here. Your mom's wonderful. I want her to be part of this child's life. This is the grandma. This is an important dynamic relationship that I want to support. But she has to ask before she comes over. I agree. You can't just show up.
Yeah, and that comes back to respect.
Yeah.
This is now our home, and this is us together, and you not giving us that notice in advance. Would you do that to your friends? Would you do that to others? And the other big question is, would you do this to your own daughter? And that is another interesting question that often comes up, is mothers-in-law treat their daughters differently compared to how they treat their daughters.
Oh, they give their daughters more respect than they give their son's partner.
Of course. That's blood. Okay, now what about this one?
Wait, sorry. Is it internalized like misogyny that we sort of like respect our son-in-law more than we respect our daughter-in-law?
It's such an interesting question, but it is this sense of we hope our daughters to go and do the things and hold their boundaries and reach for what it is. But then when it comes to our daughter-in-law, we say, hey, are you making sure that my son is taking his vitamins? Are you feeding him well? Yeah.
So yes, misogyny. Yes. Okay.
Wow.
Sorry,
Fascinating.
I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought you were saying they treat their blood daughter better than they treat their daughter-in-law. So I was saying,
like
yes,
different
of course.
rules for their daughter's household with her husband than her son's household with his wife.
Got it.
That is very interesting.
All right, I love getting to talk about Ritual because I love their essential protein powder. It tastes delicious and it is so clean. So the Ritual essential protein basically has 20 grams of clean vanilla tasting pea protein. I'm going to be honest, I let Noah drink my smoothie all the time. She really likes it because it tastes so delicious. It is non-GMO plant-based protein. It is made from 100% US grown, regeneratively farmed peas. Regeneratively is a new health trend that's happening that is very important if you can get it. It provides a complete amino acid profile and 20 grams of protein to help build lean muscle. We are all learning so much now about how important having lean muscle is and how important it is to have protein in our diet because we are not drinking or eating enough protein. They go through, at Ritual, they go through rigorous third-party testing for heavy metals and microbes and are informed sport certified, meaning each batch is tested for 250 plus banned substances. This is really important to be third-party tested because when companies are testing their own products, you can't really trust that what they're saying is accurate. So a third-party test is the cleanest way to go. I love all the stuff that Ritual does, but I just really love their essential protein. When I was pregnant, I drank their prenatal protein powder. And then when I was already a mom, I started drinking the essential protein and it just tastes so good and it's so clean. And I always have it right before I go downstairs to the gym in the morning. So why not shake up your Ritual? Get 25% off your first month of Ritual when you visit ritual.com/foster and add the essential protein today.
You guys, Element, we love Element. Okay. It is a 0 sugar electrolyte drink. It's a mix, so it's powder in all the packets, amazing flavors, like truly amazing flavors. I would say my favorite is the grapefruit, but you know, there's other ones to choose from. That's just my go-to. They also have a sparkling electrolyte water. That's their kind of newest product that if you're seeing people walk around holding the cans, you drink one of these and you're just like, oh, I have energy for days. I have energy. I'm hydrated because the truth is a lot of the times when we are feeling fatigued or we have a headache or maybe our skin looks a little dull, we're really just dehydrated. You cannot underestimate what dehydration does to you. Each stick pack delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes, which are free of sugar, artificial colors, or all the other dodgy ingredients that honestly are in a lot of the electrolyte drink mixes from other companies. This one is just the perfect ratio of electrolytes, which I think is why everybody loves it so much. And then, of course, the no sugar. You're not hydrating yourself if you are drinking sugar. So right now, Element is offering a free sample pack with any purchase. There is 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors, 8 flavors. They're all really good. Or share Element with a friend. So get yours at drinkelement.com/foster. This deal is only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/foster.
Okay, now what about this? You're a couple, you're married, and financial. Your husband is supporting the parents. And the wife is like, yo, like,
because by the way, culturally, some cultures are like you always have to take care of the generation before you. American culture is much more like everyone's on their own.
American culture is like, yo, you're healthy, you got 2 legs, get a job. You know, like,
yeah, this is going to depend on the couple and the conversations they have. They have to bring this out in the open and talk about what's important about it and how we go about it. If this is a value of your partners and they've had it from when you started dating them, how do you then come in and ask them to completely change?
But that's tough because you don't really talk finances in the beginning. You know, in the beginning, it's not really your business to be like, yo, what do you give your parents? Do you give them credit cards? You pay for them? Like, that's not really a conversation you have in the beginning. Or should it be?
Well, when you're getting married, you kind of have to have those conversations.
Oh, yeah. No. When you're getting married. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, the first 6 months of being together, you're not talking about that. But those are the pivotal years where you're kind of deciding, like, are we going to marry each other?
And the question in there is this something that's negotiable? So for couples, if I want to have children and and this person I'm dating says I don't, I'm not going to stay with them because we don't get to negotiate yes or no to children. That's right. Yes, no. But when it comes to support, what does that financial support look like? How much is it? How long does that take place for? How do we protect us as a couple while at the same time you wanting to do that? And again, then we come back to how can we talk about this stuff? Because a lot of times couples come into it and say, you're doing that. You can't do that. Why would you do that? You're choosing your mother over me. And that spikes then someone else's defensiveness and the conversation goes nowhere.
So speaking of triangulation, is it unfair for us
Wait,
to
she didn't answer though fully.
I thought that was the answer.
Well, maybe it was. I don't know.
It depends.
It just
and Sarah, I appreciate that question because I think it's tricky, right? And it's going to be different for everyone.
I was going to say if triangulation is always bad, then if we have an issue with our mother-in-law, is it fair for us to say to our husband, you need to tell your mom to stop showing up without asking? Or do we need to grow up and be like, I'm going to have that conversation myself with them?
Oh, yeah. Like, whose responsibility is it to set the boundary?
Yeah. Is it unfair to ask them to do this with their own parent?
It's not unfair. It's perfectly reasonable. And I would recommend that sons need to be communicating those boundaries as a we to their mother, to their parents. And I say the same thing for women to be communicating with their parents. And the reason for that is because you are the insider. You are connected to the family. Now, when we step back from this, some people will say, I have a great relationship with my mother-in-law and I can say to her, hey, we don't feed kids candy. Like, please don't give my kids this many cookies, et cetera, et cetera. And they have that relationship where they can. Mother-in-law is one that says, oh, she doesn't take it personally. She says, thanks for letting me know. I'll know that for next time. And everybody moves on. There's no guilt tripping or cold shoulders or silent treatment. But if you have a mother-in-law who's not able to do that with you, it really is about your husband being on board and communicating this. And this comes back to one of the other questions earlier is why do we see this dynamic between mothers and sons? And maybe the kind of filling out that question is, do we see this with daughters and mothers? And girls and boys are different in terms of their brain development. Girls early on develop emotionally and socially more advanced than boys do. Their brains are different. We see that early on in development. And then what we see in teenagers is that girls are more likely to set boundaries with their parents. They're screaming I hate you. Actually, when my daughter was 5, she was screaming it at me already. So, I hate you, and slamming doors. And, so girls do this more than boys do. Boys are more avoidant. They shut down their needs in general, talking about big picture. And then they grow into adulthood, not expressing boundaries to their parents and to their mom. And couples show up in my therapy room around 2 major milestones. One, the wedding, because that's probably saying to mom, mom, we don't want to invite that uncle who gets drunk at every big event. And that's upsetting to the mother. Maybe he struggles to do it. Or after the birth of a child, because he is struggling to set boundaries with his mom.
Yes. Okay. So that's very interesting. You're allowed. So I guess that isn't really triangulating. It's really just saying to your partner, I need you to speak to your parent. And
I know, but you guys, if he doesn't agree? But what if he doesn't agree? That's when the resentment starts. So it's like he's supposed to carry out your needs as a family to the parents. But what if he's only doing it to please you and he doesn't agree? Then that starts creating tension and resentment in the relationship, which always leads to not great things.
Well, this comes back to this idea that you brought up, Sarah, which is like a good son is a good husband, right? Like what I witnessed in my marriage is that if something is important to Simon's mom, he's going to listen and he's going to consider it, right? If something's important to me, he's going to listen and consider it. So if I say to him, this thing really bothers me, he would never be like, well, you shouldn't care about that. He would 100% of the time say, okay, well then I'm going to figure out a way to fix it.
Simon is just like he is a diamond in a haystack. I mean, he's just a really good guy. I'm sorry. There are not a lot of
No,
Simons.
he really is. But I guess what I wasn't thinking about before until you kind of flagged it is like the way that they are with their mother really is such an indicator to how they learn to interact with a woman's needs, because women are complicated and we know that about ourselves. Last night when I was going to bed, I was FaceTiming with Simon and I just decided that I was mad at him. And I had no reason for it. I was just, he was like texting while we were talking and I decided, you know what? That was really rude. I went to bed mad. He was so confused. He was like, are you mad at me? I'm like, no, I'm not mad at you. I'm just tired. I was like being a child. And it's like,
you are such a pain in the ass. Like, do you actually, it's crazy. I mean, this woman is such a pain in the ass. How did you get Simon? Like, I don't understand. You don't deserve him. You actually do not deserve him.
The point is that it's hard dealing with a wife and a mom because women, we are just complex. You know, sometimes we don't even understand our own emotions. And so it seems like if you're looking for indicators of like red flags or positives, the tricky part is that having a son that is a bit devoted to his mom is a good sign, right?
Yeah.
Devoted and separated. It's almost those two pieces. And I wanted to add in there, the difference, though, that Simon's doing with you is that he's not dismissing what you're sharing. And if your partner dismisses your concerns, and these are the common things I hear, that's just my mom, you're making too big of a deal out of this, you're too sensitive, those are going to hurt your relationship. And those are red flags. And instead, we want a partner who says, tell me more about that. I don't know if I understand that fully. Can you help me know what it's like for you? Or for your husband to say, I don't see it that way, but I want to understand what it's like for you. And maybe we can then find a way through this. It's that willingness to say, let's do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about when a son is defensive of his mom? And that's
of course
a normal... I'm defensive of my parent. You know, my parents can drive me crazy, but if Tommy were to ever say anything, you know, if I'd be like, I'm sorry, what? And vice versa. I mean, listen, these dynamics played a role in some of the tension in my relationship of 17 years. You know, I always wanted Tommy, and I've said this to everybody, so it's fine, but I always wanted Tommy to kind of have my back more. And it was an issue for me.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know.
And that's the piece in there is we want to first look at how do we communicate what it is that we're experiencing, and how do we do that in a way that doesn't put our partner on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to our partner and say, your mom was so mean again, she is always rude, she doesn't even think about me, attack. No matter who you are, myself included, we get defensive of our memories of our childhood and of our parents. It's quite normal for us to do that. And so then it draws on us. It pulls us to say, okay, how can I do this in a different way? And part of this conflict is that a lot of men are not aware of the dynamics in their family. And that's why daughters-in-law get labeled as the scapegoat and the bad guy. I'm using quotation marks, bad guy, because they're disrupting patterns. And
Yes.
I say to couples all the time, I say, these patterns were there long before you joined the family.
You just exposed them.
Yes.
So you're saying come to your partner respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're given an opportunity to respond respectfully, right? Because if you're like, well, your mom did fucking this and your family's like this, it's like, who's going to say, yeah, you're right?
Venting is not helpful in a relationship. Go and journal, go talk to your friends, have your best friend, your sister on text them and say, can you believe it? She did it again. We know family members are predictable and consistent.
Venting
so your mother
is not healthy.
No. It doesn't help us process what's happening. And so the anger just starts to spin in us. It grows into resentment. And we all need to vent at times. We can do it at times. We just don't want it to be the only tool we reach for.
Yeah, Erin, that's why I always tell you, get out your burn book and journal about me. You know, I like just get it all down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
I do have to vent
it's
about Sarah
not
often.
productive then to go to our partners and vent out the stuff we're feeling about his mom, because then you spiral with your partner. And I like to think of couples as either you can come top down. That's a top down perspective. I'm going to tell you what your mom is like and what you need to do. Bottom up is more like planting seeds. It's more like asking, how was that for you when your mother said, well, I guess I won't see you for another 60 days? What did you think when your mom, let's think of some other examples. When your mom gave the full piece of cake to our 1-year-old and said, gave them their bite, all those things. It start to like draw that out from your partner.
Oh my God. Because you're not saying don't communicate. Communicating and venting are very, very different things. This is kind of mind-blowing right now because it's so true. When I think about all the venting I've done, like it's so toxic and it never leads to anything of the outcome that I'm looking for. When I just like diarrhea of the mouth, where it's like, because your thoughts aren't even organized or processed yet. You're processing them in real time. And that's not something to put on your partner. Go process it on your own. Then come to the table once it's processed. Right?
And let's layer in what we talked about, how we want to please the mother. And you, Sarah, you started out by saying that, when you're younger, you can remember, get the mother to like me. So many daughters-in-law are good girls. We please, we self-abandon. We say, oh, sure, yes, you can show up whenever you want. That's no problem. And as a result of that, anger and resentment builds inside of us because our needs go unmet.
And it's so funny. I think a lot of the time, I can only speak for personal experience, but a lot of the time our partners sometimes they do have our backs, but it's like they don't want, like for Tommy, I think, in protection of his parents, wouldn't want me. So I remember there was an incident, I'm talking like 15 years ago, where I was very specific. I never wanted our daughter, to be kissed on the lips or share spoons, or I was like crazy. I was like, I read an article about like an aunt giving a baby like a cold sore, and then it turned into this whole thing. And I was like, I had my first child, I was 29. I sent the memo out to the family. No one is to kiss my baby on the lips. No one is to, when she starts eating, share spoons or share a drink, whatever. It might have been a little over the top, but I felt very, very strongly about it. And when she was like 7 months old, she was eating baby food, and a family member on his side like licked the spoon or something. And I literally watched him watch it happen. And I was like, someone's going to die. Like someone's going to, there will be a death today. Okay. I will be in jail. And I thought like he was going to just let it go. But he went off when I wasn't around to that family member, So he was upset about it, but he didn't almost like want me to know that it was. Does that make sense? Because it's like if he knew.
He wasn't telling you he was mad at that person, but he was telling that person he was mad at them.
Yes. So it was just this like, which again comes down to bad communication. But I think a lot of the time men, it's like if they, I don't want to say scold, but it's like if they align with you, then it's like they're kind of being like, yeah, my family, that sucked. Does that make, I'm not articulating this correctly. And there's so many different things at play.
You're saying
here,
that sometimes that person might be doing the dirty work you are wanting them to do, but they're not necessarily telling you about it or doing it in front of you.
Because then it almost like gives me free will then to be, or it's him admitting like, yeah, that like my family like doesn't have the best.
They love to lick the spoon.
Yeah. Or whatever. Yes.
So you didn't know he was doing those things.
No, I was just like, what's wrong with you? Why are you like, how did you not just like, blow the house up off? Like this is
behind the scenes, he had the conversation with the family member.
Yes.
So then it was you two being able to come together and talk about that. And it's tricky, right? Because sometimes we don't, it's almost like if I validate my wife, what does it mean that I'm saying about my parents?
Yes.
And couples, so partners, men and women, but because of the book I've written, I'm going to say men need to hold these two truths. I can validate my partner's feelings. I can understand what she is experiencing, and I can still love and respect my family. We can hold that. I love two truths, right? Let's hold two things.
Yeah.
I can create boundaries with my wife so that we can feel good when we put our heads down at night. We can be close and connected. And I'm not cutting out my family. They're still part of this together. And also, Sarah, I just have to go back. As a mother, that's not crazy making to say, please don't kiss my baby on the lips. I make that recommendation to people all the time. And also what parents miss is mothers are so vulnerable in those first 12 to 24 months, you are so vulnerable. There's so much going on inside of you that, yeah, we do have that experience. And it's really hard. And family needs to respect that.
I don't think any kids should be kissed on the lips, but that's a whole other conversation.
Makes me so happy when I get to talk about Caraway and then we have companies like this sponsoring our podcast, because clean cookware is such an essential part of living a non-toxic life, which you know is my passion. And when we are cooking food in pans that have toxic chemicals, you are just cooking it into your food, okay? So Caraway's founder and CEO, Jordan, basically accidentally overheated a non-stick Teflon coated pan, and he got sick with what's called Teflon flu, okay? I have never heard of that before now. It is a real thing. He found that it only took 2.5 minutes for Teflon coated pans to begin releasing toxic chemicals into the air. So he basically made it his mission to make beautiful, non-toxic cookware for your kitchen. And they have everything top to bottom. They have, high quality glass lids. They have nonstick steamers. They have FSC certified cutting boards. The average adult unknowingly consumes over 150,000 plastic particles a year. That is devastating and terrifying. That one of the first things you should be doing if you want to live a non-toxic life is to change out all your pans. Caraway makes the nicest stuff. They have the prettiest colors. They have this beautiful ceramic coating. If you have been eyeing their internet famous 12-piece cookware set, now is the perfect time to buy it. You can shop Caraway risk-free, enjoy fast, free shipping, easy returns, and a 30-day trial. Plus, if you visit carawayhome.com/foster, you can get an additional 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so please go to carawayhome.com/foster or use the code FOSTER at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern.
I'm going to just start with hardcore data because I am somebody that it's just data doesn't lie. 92% of people that used Foria felt more aroused. 92% of people that used Foria reached an orgasm. It's something we all need. And it's like I start these ads off when I talk to you guys about Foria by just saying add to cart. You shouldn't even listen to the rest of this ad. You should just add it on to cart. I'm pretty sure that every single person who has bought Foria through our podcast has been happy. I get messages that I cannot repeat because they are pornographic, but they're basically people just saying, where has this been my whole life? Where has this been? It's kind of like a mandatory thing to have next to your bed. You got to put clean products in those areas. You really got to be on top of the ingredients that are going, into you. I'm going to just say it. We're all adults. So, yes, you have permission to try this. I fully endorse you to go ahead and treat yourself and your partner or just yourself. Foria is offering a special deal for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting ForiaWellness.com/foster or use the code FOSTER at checkout. That's FORIA Wellness.com/foster for 20% off your first order. I recommend trying Awaken or their pleasure set with all 3 of their best sellers. You will thank us later.
Would you say that it is important to learn that you can be critical of your family and that doesn't mean you're betraying them?
Mm-hmm. I would say you can learn that you don't have to like everything about your family and you still love them.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's a developmental growth piece, right? That
absolutely.
I don't have to like that mom shows up this way and I still love her. I have to be able to hold those two things.
Mm-hmm. I think my husband comes from a family where you really don't criticize each other big or small, to the point where if you have a nephew that's, playing soccer, nobody would be like, he's not that good. Everything's everyone's the best at everything all the time. Everyone is amazing all the time. And I'm it's okay to say.
Not in our family. Our family, we're she sucks.
Yeah.
We're let's get her off that soccer field now.
Yes. And I prefer the honest route, not to make your kids feel bad, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to be bad at soccer, right? It's fine to be like, honey, listen, are you the best on the team? No, but like you're out there, you're having fun. I don't think that that's going to scar someone for life unless they're like, on the path to trying to be a professional soccer player. And that's something in my relationship where I've had to really, and it's still uncomfortable for Simon, it's okay to be a little honest and critical of someone that you care about. It's not a betrayal, but he was just raised like, there's just one way. You always speak positively of your family, no matter what, top to bottom. And in some ways that has to fester because you're not seeing things realistically. And I don't think that, having flaws means you aren't perfect. It's okay to be good at some things and bad at some things. Anyway, the question I was really getting into
land
is,
the plane here, girl. Land the plane.
Okay, honey, talking about every detail in your relationship. Okay, so for women who are currently dating men, what are the signs to look out for that the guy might be enmeshed with his mom or have toxic boundaries?
You might even have a test in there, actually, thinking about this question, is to see if there's a moment where you're doing something. It's not a malicious moment, but being able to say, oh, interesting, your mom is doing it that way. Let's do it this way. And just see how he reacts to that. So some of those red flags around enmeshment are things like mom is overly involved in all of his decisions. He doesn't know how to set boundaries with her. He struggles if he says no or thinks differently from his mom. He feels guilt. Some other signs you might see are around really getting just defensive of mom and thinking that what she's feeling is going to take priority. It's almost like it's like someone else being in your relationship. That would be the red flag. It's not just about closeness, it's about having no boundaries.
Wait, so if you see that how early on? Like first couple of months of a relationship, like if he's defensive of them, that's a red flag?
No, not necessarily in the first couple of months. And you might not even see this until a major milestone shows up as well. That's the other thing. We like to believe that we can catch these red flags early on, but we don't always see them. And the red flags are not always deal breakers. It means, are you someone that I can work through this with? Is he open? Does he get curious? Is he wanting to change some of these old patterns? Can he take ownership? Those are things that we want to look at.
By the way, how soon are you supposed to meet the parents? Is that like a blanket thing or is really just depends? Like
it depends on how old you are and
how old you
honestly,
are, what
Sarah,
life stage you're in.
Tracy, a question for you. Do you see yourself like when your son is deciding where to go to college, if he chooses to go to college, do you see yourself or do you see him being like, oh God, mom, I really want to go to this school, but I know it's so far away and that's going to be hard for you? Like, is that healthy or unhealthy that your child might be like factoring that in to their decision? Or would it be, can you see yourself going like, oh God, you're going to move all the way to, I don't know, London,
well, it's probably
Washington?
Already a problem that he's saying, I know it'll be hard for you. That means you've already set up
No, not necessarily. Because that means he has empathy and we want to teach our kids. So here's the other piece that we're doing with kids is we do want to teach them that we're in a relationship. So that if he, for example, were to say something hurtful, I can validate his feeling and I can say those words hurt and they don't feel good for me. I can say, you're upset. It makes sense to feel upset right now. Those are hurtful words. And that takes a moment for me to catch my breath. And we'll talk later about how can we speak differently to each other, right? So we do want to honor feelings, not put our feelings on our kids, but teach them what it means to be in a relationship. If they're yelling at me, that's not how we communicate. Hey, let's regulate our bodies. We can do this together. And then let's try again. So if he comes to me and says, I know you're going to be upset. I know you're going to miss me. That's a kid who's attuned to others' emotions. That doesn't necessarily mean enmeshment. Now, if he says to me, I can't leave, I'm going to stay here. I know how hard it will be for you. So I'm going to move into the basement and I'm probably not even going to sign up for any sports. I might start to kind of question that a little bit. And when he does leave, I would be sad and I would let him know I'm sad. And there's two things. I feel sad. You're not responsible for that. I'm going to be okay. And I am so pumped for you to have this experience. But hey, if you're ever struggling, pick up that phone and call me. That's the It's this way of thinking of, and I'm using my hands, that we are two separate people. And inside of the circle of who you are, you have your own thoughts, feelings, desires, wishes. And our goal in any relationship is interdependence, which is about holding autonomy and interconnectedness. And it's about how do we come together? It's not how do we stay completely separate and hyper independent, and not how we be enmeshed and lose ourselves within somebody else.
What about saying I miss you? Is that something that always gets attached to guilting? Are you allowed
I
to
say it every day. My kids come home from school and I go, I missed you today. That's really bad.
Well, also Sarah's daughter, who's 9, she slept over at my house last week, and I was like, are you going to sleep over tonight? She goes, I want to. I feel so bad for my mom. You know, she misses me when I'm here. It's really hard for her. She misses me. And so I think I got to go home. And she may have just been using that as an excuse. But it does make me wonder, because now that I'm a mom, I get it. Like, I even say to Sarah's kids, I go, Josie, I miss you. When are you going to come over and see us? I miss you. And like,
no,
I don't know. Is that unhealthy that we're putting that on them?
No.
Okay.
That's love.
Let
That's
the professional decide, Sarah.
That's connection. That's love. That's saying you impact me. And it's also about security, the secure base. I hold you in my mind when you're not here. I think about you. And that's just at our core what we all want to know.
Okay. That's not just like Jewish mother guilt.
No.
God, no. I miss you is so important. Kids need to know they're missed. They need to know, to your point, that space is being held for them all the time, and makes them feel safe, which makes them be securely attached, which is like all we want from our kids. Okay, I want to know
Can I differentiate that though? It's much different when you say I miss you, and so we'll think about 2 adults. Oh, I miss you guys. I haven't seen you for a while. Can you come for Sunday dinner? Let's do that. Does it work this week or next week? Versus, I miss you. You never prioritize me. You don't come over. When am I even going to see the kids? They're going to be so big by the next time I see them. When someone says that, I don't know what they need and I don't know what they feel.
Oh, that's so good.
They need you to feel like it's your fault or something. So it's like the missing you has to be a self thing, not a putting it on you thing. It has to be like, oh no, I really miss you guys. Please, I hope you guys come over because it's going to be so nice to see you. Not, I miss you because you never call. I miss you because you don't make time for us.
So passive aggressive. Okay, what are the most common ways? And I know we've sort of talked about this.
And Sarah,
all
sorry, but did you switch over to the questions from social? Because I feel like I thought that I was on that, but I wasn't on that.
No, because I wanted to ask, what are the most common ways couples miscommunicate, and how can they fix it? Because I think there's so much miscommunication happening everywhere, and it's leading to like the breakdown of relationships, honestly, when they don't need to be.
It's such a big question, and it's something I teach people in so many different ways. So I'm going to think of some main things. One is accepting that in a relationship, we have this cycle of connection, disconnection, and repair. And it's normal in relationships to feel disconnected, to have a hard moment, to not agree on everything. But then the main thing we want to learn how to do is to repair and to come back together. Repairing is not about saying to someone, you're right. I should have seen it that way. I should have done it that way. Repair is about identifying how I impact you, holding accountability, making plans on how you're going to show up differently next time. That's really at the core of our relationships. And the communication piece is we want to get out of our defensiveness, our own stories that we tell ourselves about our partner, and start being more curious and compassionate to each other. Ask more questions instead of making assumptions, and practice going from it's you versus me. I always say to couples, don't sit across from each other at the dining room table. Sit shoulder to shoulder as you're talking about something hard, and put a piece of paper in front of you. That's the problem in front of you. Look at it together that way.
That's very interesting.
That's so
signaling to each other we're on the same side.
Yes.
So what do you do with them? I mean, it seems like the biggest trope is a guilting mother-in-law. A guilting mother-in-law that's always making you feel like you've excluded her, left her out, not called enough, not done this enough. What do you do with that person?
Boundaries. You need boundaries with that person. And that's a mother-in-law. In the book, I talk about 6 different types. And this would be
what are the different types of mother-in-law?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I want to first say that this is not a diagnosis. This is not something in the DSM, but rather from my clinical experience, from the research I've done, I've found that there are 6 different types. So there's the martyr. This is the giving woman. This is the one who just ends up guilting you or feeling like there's an obligation. And then there's the second one, which is the victim mother-in-law. So
Oh, the worst.
unlike a martyr who has this ongoing self-sacrificing mode and feels unappreciated, the victim feels like everything is out to get her. The world is out to get her, and it's all happening to her, and she has no sense of agency. So that's the first two. The second two I talk about are externalizers. The first one is the blamer, where everything is not about them and it's other people who are the problem. So daughters-in-law are often the problem when you have a blamer mother-in-law type. And then the other one is the controller. This is someone who wants things done their way. They dismiss you. They're not self-sacrificing in any way. And then I've found that there's two other types. I call them more the balancers. So we have the distancer. This mother-in-law is probably more absent. She's more avoidant. Maybe the whole family is a bit more disconnected. And then the last one is the supporter, where this mother-in-law is respectful. She's caring. There's a sense of mutuality and connection and really wants to build that relationship with you.
Mm-hmm. So there's only one positive type?
I've grouped them all together so we can understand the types of behavior that you'll see in them. And you'll probably even see some of those behaviors in different ways. And that then helps you decide, how do I want to talk to that person? How is something I say going to land, especially around setting boundaries and talking about needs? So with that martyr mother-in-law, with the one who guilt trips, it's going to be really important to have a fence or a glass wall around you so that their sadness and upset feelings don't come into you, because likely you are not doing something bad. Guilt says you're doing something bad. Setting boundaries, having limits, having needs and desires, and doing things differently from her doesn't make you a bad daughter-in-law. That means you're different.
But we also do have to make an effort with our mother-in-laws, right? Like they are
Absolutely.
a relationship we have. And for sure, me becoming a mom has changed how I feel. Like anyone else in my life loving my child and wanting to be there makes me feel even more connected to that person, you know? And you see how important that relationship is for their kids to know their grandparents and feel the presence in their life. And so it is something that we also have to like participate in and like we probably do have to make the effort to make them feel good, right?
You know,
Yeah. And you can do that without feeding into their guilt, without enabling it. And that is about saying things like, we love spending time with you, offering that reassurance. We want you to play a role in the kid's life. We can't come every Sunday night for dinner.
You know what dynamic isn't really in here that I see, but I'm sure really exists, especially in today's day and age where the cost of living is just so just out of control. And so many couples are still having to move in with their in-laws, move in with their parents, getting financial support from parents because it's just, you know, all the things that we know. So I wonder how that dynamic is at play when the in-laws are supporting you financially or helping you financially. That shifts things because you feel like you're under the thumb, you know, of your in-laws. And that is a brutal dynamic.
Yes. In chapter 6, this is the second step of my method to help couples. There's this set of questions to go into all of these scenarios. What do we plan to do if a family member gives us money or if a family member moves in? And a lot of this is about having these conversations ahead of time with each other to understand what our expectations and needs are, and then to also have those conversations with the family member so that if your mother-in-law is giving you as a couple a generous gift to support you financially, or you're living in their home, I know many people do that. They end up living in the basement of his family home. What's the desire there? Are we having dinner every night together, or is it once a week, once a month? How do we keep this boundary that it's our relationship and our marriage and we're in the same dwelling?
Mm-hmm. This is a very bizarre question, but somebody wrote it in. Mother-in-law wants to go on solo vacations with my husband, but he has limited time off.
Well, that's just weird.
I want him to spend that time with me. How do I say this without being rude or seeming clingy?
So when you go to him and say, you always want to be with your mom, you're not prioritizing me, he's going to get defensive. And so then we want to help him start to see what his needs and priorities are. What's important about that trip for you with your mom? What do you get out of it? What do you get out of it? What does it give you? What are other ways that you build connection with your mom? And then start talking about, how does it feel to go on vacation with me? And ultimately, it might be about saying, I want this time with you. So how do we then get this together while you go and do that? And he has to make that decision.
So interesting.
Oh my God. There's so many questions here. Okay, wait.
I know.
Someone just said, I have a friend whose in-laws are staying with them right now, along with 4 other family members. They live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Her husband was like, we need to make it work because they don't have a lot of money. She thinks they could afford a hotel or then they shouldn't visit. Ooh.
Right. Like if you
Awkward.
can't figure out a hotel, then don't come.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. And the financial strain around that is difficult. So what are some of the other gives and takes in that? Is it that they stay for less time? Is it that this is a visit that happens once a year? Is it that they then go and see the other family? So they're the ones traveling to them instead? There's got to be some wiggle room in there because, and I think this is true for many people, is that there's this expectation that your family should be living with you when they visit. And I think it's really important for couples to hear it is okay for you to say that in this season right now, it's going to work better for you to stay somewhere else. And can we, as a couple, could we pay for that hotel for you so that we can all have our sanity?
Oh, so you think you should offer, right? You should offer to get the hotel. Yeah, if you can afford it and if it doesn't change your life, that's a nice gesture. Yeah. Okay.
Or then if this is a no, we can't pay for their hotel, they can't afford to stay at a hotel, how do we then build in routine and structure for ourselves to protect our relationship? So maybe it's, we're not staying around for dinner. After work, we go out for walks instead. We go to the park for picnics. There's something else in there of how do you create separation?
Can I just say that you bringing that up because you are a couples therapist isn't only just about mother-in-laws, but I really think looking back at, you know, the most significant relationship I had, which was 17 years, I wish that we had have done walks. I think so much can happen on walks. I think so much like connecting, so much problem solving, so much like getting things off your chest. All those things can happen in movement.
It's kind of hard to argue when you're walking too. Like you kind of have to listen.
You have to listen. And I really want to urge people listening, walk with your spouse, walk with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your new relationship. So much good can come out of walking with your partner.
Yeah, it's
you
true.
You are in your body, so not in your head, because we argue from our heads. We get triggered by emotions in the back of our brain, which then triggers the story in the front of our brain. And then that triggers our nervous systems to go into fight or flight. When you're walking, you can be playful, present with what's around you. You're more regulated. And then you can hold hands, which is also a form of regulation through it. And you are literally shoulder to shoulder as you're walking.
But also you have to listen. I mean, I am the worst. Like, I just want to win, get my point across. It's like very hard for me to listen, which is not a recipe for any sort of healthy relationship.
Well, there's so many good questions, but I feel like we really got to the root of this stuff. It's so interesting.
No, there's 5
really, but you know what? A lot of them are like my husband's defensive of his mom. It's like stuff that the truth is we kind of hit most of these in our conversation because it's I just think it's so fascinating.
Somebody said tips on getting my husband to see how hurtful it is that he sits at tables I'm not invited to, which is his mom and sister, and how to get him back with me actions, not just, first of all, if your husband
That's a
is
very confusing question. Sitting
if your
at tables
husband
with
is,
them?
well, it just sounds like the mom and sister don't like the wife, so she's not invited to their dinners, right? That is crazy.
That is really hurtful because you're creating a divide in the relationship, and it's hard to create a relationship. So if she was saying, I don't want to be at that table, and you go and build that relationship. But if him going to that table is creating tension between them and she can't accept that, then it's hurting the relationship and they need to find a different way through that. But the fact that his family is excluding her, I think that's what it said, that's not okay. And it's for him to say, Mom, sister, this is my wife. She is my family. And so she will have a seat here at the table.
Oh, gosh.
And it's tricky. It's so tricky to get our partners on board doing this work with us.
It really is. Okay, well, everyone should go get this book, and I just love that you focused on such a specific thing that people are dealing with, because everyone has this in one way or another, and it's so important to get it right.
But what I also love is your book. It's 5 easy steps. Like you really really lay it out in a way that is going to truly help people have healthy long-term relationships and a family unit, because the goal is, correct me if I'm wrong, to have a family unit. That's what we all want. Nobody wants to be estranged or unhealthy from your family or your partner's family. That is toxic. The goal is to make it work. So you're helping people make it work. And we're so grateful that you were
Agree.
here.
And you're also sound like you're a great couples therapist. So people should reach out for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I enjoyed our conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming on our show. I loved it. It's such a great conversation.